Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of Business Insider. Since its inauguration, the National Initiative for the Development of the Egyptian Industry, START, has secured dozens of investment partnerships to establish industrial entities along with several foreign companies, something that is expected to contribute to reducing the import bill and increasing Egyptian exports by at least 16 billion US dollars. Moreover, the initiative has been able to localize several new industries for the very first time in Egypt, such as the manufacturing of soda ash, silicon in the petrochemical sector, air conditioning and refrigeration compressors, central air conditioners, welded pipes, pharmaceutical raw materials, and components of drinking water and sewage plants. We'll be talking in tonight's episode about the START initiative, its objectives, the vision, the mission, and what has been achieved so far, and the added value that the START initiative has given to the industrial sector here in Egypt. But first, as always, let's take a look at our major economic headlines topping the agenda for this past week. Tourism and Antiquities Minister Ahmed Isa announced a bundle of facilities related to issuing tourism visas to attract more tourists to visit Egypt, highlighting plans aimed at increasing the number of tourists to 30 million by the year 2028. Isa said that there is a 30% increase in visits to Egyptian tourist destinations in January and February of 2023 in comparison to the same period in 2022, promising that the tourism sector will flourish in the upcoming period even further. Facilities will be given to tourists coming from China, India, Algeria, Morocco, Iraq, Turkey, and several other countries, according to a statement by the Tourism and Antiquities Minister. And Prime Minister Dr Mostafa Wali attended an inking ceremony of an agreement on financial close for a new wind farm project near Ras Gharib in the Gulf of Suez region. The Red Sea Wind Energy Consortium reached financial close for its 500 megawatt wind farm project at a total investment of 680 million US dollars. Electricity Minister Dr Mohammed Shaker says the project will be executed in two phases with the aim of connecting to the grid by the third quarter of the year 2025. The consortium will operate and maintain the plant under a 25-year power purchase agreement, a PPA, with the Egyptian Electricity Transmission Company, the EETC. The wind farm will be built, owned, and operated by the Red Sea Wind Energy, a consortium of Engie with a 35% stake, Orascom Construction, which holds 25%, Toyota Tsusho Corporation with 20%, and Eurus Energy Holdings Corporation with 20%. The project is a significant milestone for the consortium as it triples its wind energy capacity in Egypt to 762.5 megawatts. And the Egyptian government is keen on increasing British investments in the country and promoting British companies' engagement in major national development projects. This according to Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry. Shoukry made the remarks during a meeting with Lord Tariq Ahmed of Wimbledon, the British Minister of State for Middle East and North Africa, South Asia and United Nations on Tuesday. Welcoming the senior British diplomat, Shoukry noted that the United Kingdom is the largest single foreign investor in Egypt. This according to Foreign Ministry spokesman Ahmed Abu Zaid, who said the British official's current visit is part of a mutual commitment to enhance joint cooperation and coordination mechanisms in various domains. Foreign Minister Shukri also commended London's commitment to intensifying dialogue with Cairo on various issues of mutual concern. The meeting tackled the fallout from the ongoing global economic crisis and how to mitigate its effects on developing nations. Shukri underscored the need to consolidate international efforts in support of the developing countries most hit by the impact of the global crisis, according to the Foreign Ministry spokesman. Time now for a short break here on Business Insider. When we come back, we will be introducing you to our distinguished guests who will be with us here in the studio talking about the START initiative. And we'll also be watching a report on the topic. Please stay with us. Welcome back, dear viewers, and thank you for staying with us. With us now here in the studio is Dr. Mostafa Wali, the former General Manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries. A very good evening to you, Engineer Wali, and thank you for joining us. Happy Ramadan. First time to be with us here in Ramadan.
And for all the Egyptian, and thanks for inviting me, having me today.
Thank you, Engineer Wali. Allow us, please, and allow us, dear viewers, to watch first a report on the START initiative and its role in the development of the industrial sector here in Egypt, and then come back and start our discussion.
The Presidency National Initiative for Developing Egyptian Industry, IBDA or START, aims to add new investments worth 200 billion Egyptian pounds to the industrial sector. In an interview with the state's official news agency, Mina William, the executive director of the initiative, said that the planned investments should provide around 150,000 direct and indirect job opportunities over the coming 4 years. William said the first phase of the initiative seeks to localize industry and reduce the import gap, adding that Egypt plans to become an industrial hub for the Middle East and the African regions under the initiative's second phase. The IBDA initiative is currently working on implementing 64 industrial projects in cooperation with 33 Egyptian private companies and 20 foreign companies that work on technology transference in 12 countries. He added that the initiative's mega projects axis managed to attract investors from Japan, China, Taiwan, Italy and Turkey to localize the manufacturing of household electrical appliance components. Meanwhile, the initiative's industry support axis is working to remove all obstacles facing the owners of troubled factories and facilitate related procedures in cooperation with various government bodies. The IBDA initiative was launched by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in April last year with the aim of enhancing the role of the private sector in localizing industries and reducing imports. The initiative seeks to offer a number of incentives in this regard, including 5-year tax exemptions and Asfrast lands. Moreover, the initiative works on providing the necessary support to legalize the status of violating businesses as well as technical and financial support for ones in default. The initiative works on 3 axes to achieve its goals: the mega projects, industry support, and research, development and training. Late in December, President Sisi approved the final version of the state ownership policy document, which determines the state's presence in the economic sector and seeks to enhance the private sector's participation in public investments. As per the document, the government may maintain or reduce its presence in a number of activities in various sectors, including the transport sector.
All right, thank you very much, Abir Hussein and Rasha Abdul Hamid, for this report. Back here in the studio with Dr. Mostafa Wali, the former General Manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries. And Dr. Wali, so it's been a year since the START initiative was launched by His Excellency the President. And when it was launched, it was the centennial of the Federation of Egyptian Industries, which you were its Secretary General for several years, starting from 2000. So tell us, when we talk about any initiative, we want to know about the vision, the objectives, the means, and so on. So could you start with us by the vision, if you will, please?
Well, the vision of this initiative and what was behind it, I mean, in the thinking and in the planning of the leadership of this country in this very important time now we are passing by, is actually will be a milestone for, in my opinion, as a witnessing of over the years of similar situations in some other countries, especially developing countries and even developed countries, because in this case, the development and upgrading your status and your positioning in the world of industry, because industry is now is the prime mover of the economy first, and then you can imagine if you have a strong prime mover and available all the time to and accepting the development itself as a concept, for sure we have been witnessing and we are witnessing now the effect of the development in the industrial sector of the economy and the societies at large, regardless of whether it's is west or east. It's now the most important. So this initiative is taking care of how to have a clear vision for what we should do as Egypt, and what is the priorities for us also. The vision is that simply is that any shortcoming in our capacity for the following, in our capacity to manufacture. Actually, manufacturing is very important essence in this concept as large, at large. Any shortcoming when it comes first for our needs as a nation, as a country, from the most important and basic industrial products. And the more we can sustain and supply and satisfy the demand in this basic sector, this immediately will show you how the strong economies starts with first supplying as much as you can with the lowest cost, which means that localizing, that everything you have is put into your industry and transformed into the daily demand products of your people. That's simply to put it this way, because once you have this, this is the infrastructure actually. Unless there is by nature that something you cannot have, then you can get it outside. But the more you are using and relying on your own resources, natural resources, human resources, anything which is...
So the localization of the industry and the components needed for several, many industries, so as to reduce the import bill and add to the export portfolio is the main vision, the main
But you
objective.
see how it stems, it stems from the rock bottom of the demand of the country, because at least in this case, there for sure you can't have everything in a same society, in one society. Otherwise, there was not international trade. There wouldn't be. So when you have this, for sure, you are minimizing the cost of attaining or getting the other demands for your society. Because at the end, it's a market, it's needs,
And localizing the industry as many industries as you can will certainly be translated into more jobs and job opportunities, right?
Absolutely. You see, it's triggering, why we start this way. Let's think it this way, and then everything, as you say, if we go downstream, you will find it will be logic, it will be intangible, and it will show you what to do, especially if things are taken from a scientific and practical point and mindset. That's very important.
Right. So when this initiative took place, there were many goals, and one of them was to eliminate the obstacles facing the industrial factories and facing the industrial community.
Yes.
Could you talk to us about some of the measures that were taken to eliminate the obstacles, at least some of the obstacles facing the industrial community in Egypt?
Yeah. The initiative actually tackled this issue in a very, very practical way. Any setup, industrial setup, proved its importance and proved its success over the year, over certain periods, and then it means it was running properly. Then all of a sudden, for some reasons, we are talking specifically now about the problems, as you see, how. In this case, the intervention of the government, the intervention of the leadership to bring them up to the original successful course which was there, can be discussed, because sometimes it's out of hand. But if it is there a chance, then we should do it. And here is the role of the government to facilitate any unnecessary obstacle, which hindered the situation of such a setup, industrial setup. I'm trying to put it general, because we cannot be specific in this case. The only we have to be specific in the causes when we discuss for a certain sector of industry, for example.
Right. Now, from what I understand is that two main measures were taken. One of them is to facilitate the provision of industrial lands, and the other one was to coordinate with banks on how to better provide manufacturers with the necessary documentary credits that they needed to purchase raw materials. Could you talk to us about these two points?
Of course, all these issues are there when there is a problem, but let's talk specific about if you have an existing project, existing setup working, and then it's facing these problems. If there is a chance to help, okay, immediately the government should help and will help. But for example, if you have a project, a feasible project, everything is available for it, then some problems might arise to initiate it, to build it, to start it. And that's why even you say start and develop. Here will come, and here you will see the more you have a new project, viable project, well studied, everything's okay for it, at least you maintain and you secure the minimum requirement for a good start and a good initiative and a good start, then we should facilitate it. And as you see, this can, if you have the land, but it means not only the land, you should also have the power supply. You should have the labor force. You should have the machinery. You should have the capital, which will make you run for a certain time. As you see how things are entangled together and solving them. But if needed, first of all, to supply and to provide the necessary land, then you have to do it, even if you give it for free, as it happened in many countries where they have such big boost in foreign direct investment, which is another story, but it applies there. This is one of the incentives there.
Right. And one of the goals also, Dr. Wali, was the localization of technology through partnerships with the producers who help increase production. Could you talk to us about the importance of that element?
Yes. This is a very important issue, and actually, I remember when I started to get through this over 30 years ago, seeing some visions and some experiments and some trials in different countries, including China itself. Actually, if you can, because this is under the main title for this is investment, actually.
Right.
Because if you can have the minimum of foreign direct investment is the technical assistance or technological cooperation, or you know, specific technical system or technical ideas which will produce, which will bring you some advantage in the market. You get it from, for example, for cooperation with the joint venture, or even with just human being, human development, you know, intangible together, meeting and facing each other, talking with each other for specific problems to get to the best solution technically. And this, you know, the world is full of such cases actually.
Now, you mentioned investment and,
Yeah.
and that this initiative or others fall under the bigger title of investment. So how would such an initiative help in attracting foreign investments and also local investments
yes,
from
yes,
the private
yes.
sector?
And regional also.
And regional,
because we can-
naturally, yes.
Well, it was clear, and all the problems which we were facing, and still even facing some of them, are in the process of resolving it for the benefit of the investors. Well, it's now clear that you have to have a friendly environment, a friendly investment environment. This is a very important slogan because, as you see, it's so general, but really it contained all the aspects of having a successful investment story. There are many, but let's see. Let's tackle this in the following. At the end, it is the directives and it's the laws of the country which is receiving the investment, and it's the facilities offered by the government of this country for facility for investment, for attracting investment. And we know all that if you have a market edge, for example, your position as geographical position will help as a marketing point for a certain manufacturer who is far from this market. And according to the calculation and the cost studies, it proves that if he will come and invest in your place, he will make money, he will make his profit and reduce a lot of hassles for him, you know, and increasing his capacity. And especially if it's an international name or an international brand.
Yes. And Engineer Wali, is it true that most of the enterprises that will benefit from the START initiative are the small and medium enterprises more than the larger ones? And if so, then how is this key to the economy at large, since we know that small and medium enterprises usually, and in Egypt is no different, represent the backbone of the economy?
Yes. Frankly speaking, the biggest beneficiaries, you know, and winner in such circumstances are the small and medium enterprises for two reasons. One reason is that if you have a product which needs a lot of aggregates, which is, you know, if you can divide it into components.
Yes.
And then you find that, okay, if you have the material and the capacity and everything to manufacture it, this is part of the localization issue. Then you manufacture it here, and then in this case, who will do this? It's immediately, it's in the category of small and medium size. But to serve what? To serve an enterprise which is really under the big enterprises or the big industrial setup, because it has a final and end product, needs all these inputs as components.
Right.
Then the more you have of this, the more even your sophisticated product will be less cost. And the most important thing that the OEM, the big manufacturer, or his representative in this area, in this investment, will stick to the best and the most important issue for competition. It is the quality. So if you will have this, then immediately you are increasing even the capacity of your labor force, of your technical background, of those who are coming to the market, as to the labor market, will be easy to get to the latest technologies and so on. So the more we have big enterprises, big names, I mean when it comes to the product and the international positioning.
Right. Now, since 2013, Egypt, according to many experts, has adopted a pattern of what is called balanced development. And that is, you know, looking at the distribution of investments between the different governorates, the different regions, and so on. How can the START initiative benefit from that overall vision, you know, that we want industries to be spread and new communities to be created all around our country and not just around the delta or in populated areas?
First, you are going to manufacture, you are going to have a setup, industrial setup, then it means materials. Immediately, whatever I'm talking generally. Of course, the other aspect needed for the project should be there. But when it comes to regional, the most important item of having the regional element is important in small and medium, in the enterprises, is the availability of the most needed or the essential material, the availability in such region. This in itself will be the prime mover to think of having a project, viable project in this area. That is that's what happened all over the world when it comes to regionality. I mean, on the same country.
Understood.
I mean, when you take a provisioning, you know, for Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, then let's see.
Sinai.
And here is the role of the cumulative knowledge in our institutions, the universities, the ministries, or related, and the governorates record of what they have, what's the material available, and how important this material for certain product, because we can have, just for this area, we produce something which we even can export it as a component or as a part of component. So it's a big story, but because we know we have our history in Egypt, you know. But the only thing is how to cope with the modern technology to improve our capacity in manufacturing according to the demand or the availability of material in certain area. So we have to be in this subject, I mean in this product, which we will be manufactured there, we should be at the maximum knowing or of the knowledge of the latest technology, so that not to start.
Yeah,
so
you
that
highlighted
the
quality of the
first
product
to supply your market if it's needed as spare parts, or even you can deal with international manufacturers and exporting too. Yes.
Now, Engineer Wali, this is happening at a time when the world is suffering, you know, from the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, you know, high inflation everywhere around the world. Before that was the coronavirus pandemic. I mean, you business people and industry people always say that there is always there are always opportunities in the midst of, you know, big crises. So how is this initiative being looked at now? I mean, is it really unlucky because this is happening at a very difficult time globally, regionally, and here at home? Or is it exactly the opposite, that we do have a great chance to exploit opportunities in the midst of the crises that the world is living in now?
Let's be objective and practical. You know, when there is a problem, we should admit there is a problem. And this time, this problem is international. It's covering, it's dragging the whole world into recession even. It could reach this point. But of course, you know, things cannot stop all of a sudden, you know, you will have time. So the clever or the smart thinking is that always try to find a way when it is too tough. Here is the role of the management in general, and when it comes to the countries and that, to the government, and the government plans to handle such situation. For example, if we can, as people, you know, just get to our local manufactured items, generally. In this case, we need hard currency. If we can locally substitute some items imported, then you are reducing your cost, and I mean you are saving to invest or to do something else. Here it comes. The only thing will be how to, if there is a chance, because it's not that easy, your priorities. You rearrange your priorities according to the situation. For example, okay, well, the demand for luxury goods, for example, should be get to minimum, zero even. Why not? Because on the contrary, because on the other side, you have to maintain for the basics. If you have to, so because the luxurious, this is not just, you know, talking, it's true. The luxurious, you can substitute it. It must be substituted by the necessary.
Now some projects have already been developing within the START initiative, like silicon and the petrochemical sector, air conditioning and refrigeration compressors.
Artificial intelligence, I'm sorry for interruption, but this is something now, we should think of it. That's a new field, you know, a new horizon, you know, where we can get in like many others. But
there are key industries like the home appliances industry, or those related to the car industry, some components. There is also in the pharmaceutical raw material sector. So things are moving?
Yes, I could say this, you know. Of course, there are something beyond our control. I mean, not only us. Some look, those who has not now big countries, you know, developed country, they don't have sufficient gas to run their factories. I mean, it's true. We know this. We have seen it. So sometimes something beyond your control. But in this case, what we are talking about is that okay, if you can, for example, if you can maximize your production from some items or in certain industries, maximize it, you know, push more of effort, investment, technology if you can, because you have a competitive edge in the international market. Immediately you should do it. If you can change from certain industry, you know, a certain line of a production line, you can keep it for the time being and concentrate on other certain the industrial production line. It happens, because separate, you know, and the end product is different, the same setup. Then you rely on it. I mean, the only thing, the people of industry, we have very smart people in Egypt, those who have the history in industry and initiated industry from both private sector and public sector. The experience is there. The potential is there.
You mentioned, you know, the energy now. I mean, when you mentioned gas, and we know, of course, that you are a member of the Energy Committee at the Cairo Syndicate of Engineers. So let me conclude by asking you this, related to the START initiative and related to energy. Now, in light of Egypt's national strategy for green hydrogen production, the START initiative has done some things, some positive things regarding the green hydrogen production. Could you tell us about that?
On the ground, there could be something on the ground, but the most important thing, the MOUs signed with the giants of this business is really very impressive and very promising. And let me tell you something. It's not a secret that Maersk, This the big shipper, the biggest maritime company in the world.
Very
One of the
familiar
biggest.
name, of course, yes.
Yeah, and they are looking to have their setup in Sokhna area, in Suez Canal, in Suez industrial, Suez economic zone. That's enough. And it shows you some other people will get in. And lately there are discussion of inviting and negotiating.
Right, and there was a big deal with Aaron, the French energy giant,
Yeah, you will see
in
a
that
lot,
regard.
Yeah,
The largest technological expert in the world in the field of green hydrogen, for potential collaboration with, with the Inara company and Abu Ir fertilizers and chemical industries.
Yes.
That's some of the
Let me
deals
tell
that,
you, we will have more of those who are coming to us to work on these projects of green hydrogen. You know what? Because green hydrogen, 100% green hydrogen needs green energy. Green energy. To have green hydrogen. That's not a long story, but to put it this way, we are in Africa the best for investment in this case, from everywhere, from all sides, when it comes to feasibility of the project itself, location of the project, and the total cost of this project.
All right, on that beautiful note, we come to the end of this episode of Business Insider. Dear viewers, on behalf of you, we thank very much Engineer Dr Mostafa Wali, the former General Manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries. Always great to have you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. Next week, same time, inshallah, is a new episode of Business Insider. Until then, this is Muhammad Abdurrahim wishing you a very good night.